All right. So, welcome everybody. My name is Casey Greer, and today we have our reading tips and tricks for kids and parents, hosted by the amazing Caroline Vinn. We're so happy to have Caroline here. Caroline is an avid reader, and she's going to introduce herself to all of you, but we're just really excited for tonight. So, thank you, Caroline. Can everyone see is the slide showing up, Caroline, for you?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So, just tell me, you could just say slide, and I'll click to the next slide.
Okay. Hello everyone. I'm Caroline. I'm 15 years old and I'm a sophomore in high school. I love reading. It's one of my hobbies, and I want to become a children's librarian when I grow up. Um, and some of my other hobbies include playing piano, listening to Taylor Swift, and hanging out with my friends. And these are a couple pictures of me just doing things. If we go to the next slide. I just made this little collage of just me reading. You can see I read a lot on my Kindle, but also real books or like print books, I guess you could call them. Um, yeah, I love to read. So these are just a bunch of pictures I found. I just wanted to share that because I thought it was funny. Um, okay, we can go to the next slide. So first, I wanted to talk about large print books. This is not as common in like middle grade books. It's very common in beginning reader because it's just a lot easier for anyone to track, which is very helpful for anyone who's visually impaired. But it's a lot easier for little kids to track. But for like I would say elementary, like middle school books, it's not very common. Then when you start getting to young adult and adult books, it becomes common again just because there are more, I would say, vision issues as you grow older, and so it's more common. Usually 18 point font is standard, but it can be higher, it can be lower. It really just depends. The books do tend to be heavier and thicker. I have an example here. Um, so this is the book. It's a little thicker than the normal book of this would be, but this is the print size. I don't know if you can see, but it's bigger than what the normal print is, but it obviously it might not be big enough for you. You just have to try like trial and error, I would say, is your biggest thing for this. Just try what you like, what you don't like. And again, local libraries don't tend to have a wide selection, especially for kids. Um, Even my local library, which is really good, doesn't have a wide selection of large print, and it's very scattered and kind of all over the place and pretty hard to find. So it's a good option, but there are some pros and cons. If we can go to the next slide.
And also, I want to say real quick, everybody, while Caroline is talking, we will take questions at the end, but if you would like to write a question in the chat, you can go ahead and do that and we'll check it out at the end. So just wanted to say that. But yes.
Okay, next up is magnifier. So there's really two different types. So I would say they're like video magnifiers and handheld magnifiers. One just being it's just like a normal magnifier, and then another being it's electronic. There are pros and cons to both. So for a handheld, they're usually more portable. There are portable video magnifiers, but they're not as common as portable handheld magnifiers. They are cheaper. Handheld is much cheaper than video magnifiers. I would say they're better for your kids because they're really easy to use. You just put the magnifier on the page and you can start reading. You don't have to turn anything on or change any settings. Um, I I would suggest getting there are some handheld magnifiers that have a little light. It's like a little, if you've ever seen a ring light, kind of looks like that. And it just lights the page. And at least for me, it provides better light and a little better contrast for me to read. I don't use magnifiers a ton, but I have used them in the past. And I have found a lighted magnifier to be a lot better. Um, The cons, specifically the dome magnifiers, which is the picture on the right, that's a dome. It looks like a little dome, like it has a flat bottom and then round top. That does tend to trap light and it creates a pretty big glare, which, since we're light sensitive, is a little bit of a problem. But I would just keep that in mind, um, and suggest maybe like a flat magnifier or something like that, something not rounded. I know that's what a lot of TVIs start out with, but um, I didn't really like it that much because it was just super bright. Um, it is, I found, specifically with also the round magnifiers, it's kind of hard to keep track of what line you're on. So I would suggest, one thing we did is we got duct tape and we just put it across the magnifier. And I would just, it was kind of like just help me keep track of what line I was on because I did find that a little hard. Um, and they're obviously, I would say they're less durable because they're glass. And if glass breaks, it's not great. Video magnifiers, they are more durable most of the time. Again, it depends on which one you get, but they're more durable. Lots of different format options. The ones I've had, you can change the colors, like the contrast. So normally the print is black on white, but you can invert it. You can change it to, I know another common one is yellow on blue, which isn't my favorite, but you can change a bunch of different options. You can zoom in, zoom out. You can take pictures. So that is really helpful. Um, and I would say it's usually easier to keep track of where you are, but they are more expensive and I wouldn't say they're more complex to use for kids because you have to know like this button, you zoom in, zoom out. This is how you get to the settings, how you want to change the format type. So I wouldn't suggest it for like young kids. I got mine when I was probably like seven, 7 or 8. So I would suggest it around that age. That was pretty good. Um, they obviously have to be charged, so you can't just continuously use them. At some point, they're going to die. And sometimes they're less portable, but obviously nowadays there are more portable options, but there are also still some pretty big magnifiers that are portable. Next slide. I wanted to talk a little bit about Braille. I know this isn't super common specifically in our community, but I do know of a couple people who use Braille. Um, you obviously have to get training on this. You can't just sit down and read a Braille book. I've had Braille training. It's really hard, but it was helpful for me to learn. I have a Braille book here. So they are definitely bigger books. This is about the size of a Braille book. Um, Definitely it's going to be heavier. It's going to be bigger than your average book. But if you do want to look into that, Seedlings, they're a company and they offer 5 free books per year for each visually impaired child. So I've gotten books through them a couple times and they're really good quality. I don't personally read with Braille, but it's very interesting to have Braille books and to kind of see that. Um, and yeah, I think it is a good option, but you do need training for that. Local libraries do have a very, very, very small selection. Like our local library is pretty big, and our selection is it's tiny, and they're obviously not going to be in the best shape, which kind of it matters in Braille because even if one dot is messed up, it's a completely different word. But lots of board books I have noticed do have Braille. I remember when I was little, a lot of our board books had Braille on it already, or they were very like tactile, and that was really cool. Um, so most like for very little kids, board books do tend to have Braille on them. Go to the next slide. Okay, this is one of the ways I primarily read, is an e-reader. So basically, this is what mine looks like. I have a Kindle. It's kind of it's like a mini tablet, but one cool thing about it is there's no blue light, which is like what like your phone or your iPad or your computer has, which makes it a lot easier on your eyes, and it's just easier. Like you can read at night, and it's great. It's called e-ink, and it basically kind of mimics a book, but it's obviously on your Kindle or your e-reader. So I have three options here. My favorite is Kindle Paperwhite. That's the only one I have personally tried out, but I wanted to put two other ones, just if you want to try those out as well. I found the Kindle to be the best option. It has the most accessibility options, which is very important. You can format it lots of different ways, change the font size. You can make it dark mode, which is personally how I like to read. Um, my Kindle is waterproof, which I like because that means I can read at the beach, I can read at the pool, without worrying about getting it wet. But obviously, that's not going to be too important for everyone. Um, they does come with, you can get a specific Amazon Kids, which only offers kid-friendly libraries, so your kids won't be able to get to any other books. It's just a kid-friendly. Um, and there are parental controls, which you can just control through your Amazon account. My Kindle can actually have audiobooks. I just connect Bluetooth earbuds to it and I can listen to audiobooks. I don't do that all the time. Talk about that later. But I do have audiobooks on there, and it's really, really, really easy to get library books on your Kindle. It's super easy. I can just do it from my phone and they just pop up. Um, the Nook Glow Light was, out of the three of these, it was, I would say, like my least favorite. It doesn't have the best format options. It's really, really hard to get library books, which means you'd have to buy pretty much every book you want to put on there. Um, and the screen size is smaller, which does matter. Um, and the Kobo Libra was kind of like my second choice. It's pretty good. Um, you can get library books through Libby, which is an app we'll talk about later. Um, it is waterproof. You can do audiobooks just like Kindle. There's no specific kids option, but um, obviously you can only put like kids books on there if you want to. Um, and you can get books, but you can only do it through Overdrive. So, next slide. These are just pictures. You can just see how like the screens are set up. Um, Kindle's on the left, Nook is in the middle, and Kobo is on the right. You can see that Kobo is color, which I personally don't really know how that works. My Kindle is just black and white, so I don't know if that has e-ink or not, but I can look into that if you would like me to. Next slide. Audiobooks are also another way I listen to, or I read books. I do it a lot when I'm working on schoolwork, or I really like to do puzzles. So it's another way I read. One way is playaways, which are like headphones, and then it's like a little device, and it just has one book on it, but you can get them from your library. That's how I first listened to audiobooks. I would do that on like road trips and stuff. Obviously, nowadays you can get books on apps. So two ones that I've heard of are Spotify and Audible. Both of those, Spotify, you have to have Spotify Premium, but obviously you can get like a family plan or whatever. Um, Audible, I have not personally used. It does require a subscription, and I have heard good things about it, but um, I'm going to talk about on the next slide more apps that are free that you can get audiobooks from, but you can get both of these apps on your phone, your tablet, um, whatever. Next slide. Oh, yeah, there you go. um, These are some apps that you can use. So top left is Libby. I use this a lot. I use it for audiobooks. This is how I put books on my Kindle is through Libby. It's just through your local library. Not all libraries have that, but I will talk about that in a second. Um, it's available on the Apple App Store, Google Play, and Amazon App Store. Um, that's personally my favorite app. And you can also get books on the Libby app that you can read like from your phone or your tablet. But I personally like to read on my Kindle more. Hoopla, it's another good app for audiobooks, and you can do ebooks on there as well, but they don't have as big of a selection as Libby does, and you can get it on Apple, Google, and Amazon. Kindle, the Kindle app, um, which means you just basically can read on your iPad. Same, it can be in the Apple, Google, or Amazon store. Audible kind of talked about a little bit. You need a subscription. It's through Amazon, um, and you can get it on the Apple, Google, or Amazon Play Store. Again, I have not tried it personally, but I have heard good things about it. But it does cost money. Bookshare, I've heard a lot of people use this one for school. I have it, but I don't use it a ton. You can get it on Apple and Google and basically just put books on there. You can do ebooks and audiobooks as well. And then I just wanted to add this in as a plus. Roboca, it's a magnifier app, and I just thought it was really cool because it was created by PWA. So I just wanted to include that. You can use that for reading, but also for like navigating your environment and reading signs and stuff. I have it. I find it really helpful. Quality is really good. And it's only available on Apple. And I just put in the middle. So if your local library doesn't have a great selection or they don't have Libby or just for some reason you would like to get books from another library, you can buy a non-local library card. So my local library has this Richland Library. It's $65 a year. Um, and basically you have access to Libby, Overdrive, Hoopla, like all of their basically as if you were like living in my county. And I find this it is cheaper than actually Spotify or Audible subscriptions. So I feel this would be a great option if your local library just for some reason isn't great. Um, and I have a link to that there. Obviously, there are multiple libraries around the country, but I just put one for my local library. So my library has a pretty good selection. If you want to go to the next slide, tablets. So I have an iPad. I love my iPad. Use it for many things. I do use it for reading, mainly for school reading, as I have a school iPad provided by my school, and my teacher will put PDFs of books on my iPad. So I have two different tablets here on the left with iPad. This is my personal favorite, but obviously I'm a teenager, and so it's definitely different for different ages. iPads are pricier, I will say. They don't have a specific kids option, but they do have parental controls on screen time. Um, there are a lot more accessibility options I have found, like way, way, way more than Kindle. But they are longer lasting than Kindle. I've had a Kindle Fire. Mine lasted probably like 2 years ish. They're not super long lasting, but maybe that was just mine. I don't know. Mine. Um, it's great as a multifunctional device. So not only can you read, but like I use my pets for school. I have games on there. I call my friends. I a pianist, so I do all my music stuff on my iPad. Um, so I just find it to be a great choice for me. And then we have Kindle Fire. The screens are smaller, which, at least for me, is a little bit of an issue. I really like having a larger screen. Um, they are cheaper and they do have specific kids options. Um, and there are specific options for different age ranges. Um, their accessibility options are not as broad as Apple, but they do have basic like magnifier. You can invert the colors, things like that. They're more durable for kids, but they are shorter lasting, so they don't tend to last as long as iPads do, which could be a problem in the future. But they are mostly used for games and books. I don't find I when I was on my Kindle Fire, I couldn't really like I could go on the internet, but it would be like really slow and I couldn't do any schoolwork on it. So if you do want a multifunctional device, I would suggest an iPad, but I linked an article um, that compares both so you can read that and just go through and you like what would be the best option for me. Go to the next slide. And I want to include this slide because I know a lot of these are very expensive. They are not cheap, especially tablets, books, like all this is not cheap. So I have a couple different um just grants and financial like assistance programs. So one of these is actually the NOAA iPad assistance program. Um it basically provides people with albinism, any age range, um, you're able to receive an iPad. You do have to apply. Anyone in the US and Canada is eligible, but applications are currently closed right now. So you would have to wait for the next application cycle. And then this is the your state commission or department for the blind. This is actually where I've gotten a lot of I got my iPad from them, my most recent magnifier. I also got a laptop from them. Um, they basically just help provide assistive technology to those with visual impairments. So this can not only be like tablets and stuff, but also like binoculars and all of that fun stuff. Every US state has a commission or a department. So if you don't know anything about yours, I would just look up your state and then Department for the Blind or Commission for the Blind. Um, and I will say every state is different, so it really depends on your state. So I would ask around in your specific state how your department or commission works because they might have different criteria for getting certain devices or different like limits or guidelines. So not every state is the same, and I will just say that. And I do have a little like kind of inventory, I guess. I don't really know what you call it, but linked that has websites for every single state's commission for the blind. Next slide. Thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, you can ask now, or you can also email me. I have my email link there. And thank you. Have a great day.